Two of Canada's top regulatory bodies in the investment space have amalgamated and have renamed themselves the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization, or the CIRO. The name change follows the merger of the Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada and the Mutual Fund Dealers Association of Canada earlier this year. The newly named CIRO is the national self-regulatory organization that oversees all investment dealers, mutual fund dealers, and trading activity on Canada's debt and equity marketplaces. Well, joining us now to discuss this move and what it means for investors is Brendan Caldwell, Director of Caldwell Securities Ltd. Brendan, welcome back to Forum Daily.
Always great to be here, and happy Canada Day weekend.
Happy Canada Day. Now, could you tell us a little bit more about the IIROC and the MFDA and what this merger and renaming to the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization means?
Well, with all that, I'll try not to make it too inside baseball, so to speak. What could be more Canadian than the National Regulatory Organization for the Investment Industry? Well, there were really two groups that regulated people who sold investments to the public. One was for securities dealers that sold stocks and bonds and mutual funds and everything else. That was IIROC, the Independent Investment Regulatory Organization of Canada. And the other was a group that just looked after mutual funds and did a lot more in the way of financial planning, normally speaking, where the stockbrokers, that were members of IIROC, were, well, more of that historically, although more financial planning and investment management's crept into the business over the last few decades. Historically, it was more about the trading of stock, whereas mutual fund dealers were more about financial planning and mutual fund sales. Well, the two groups have merged into this one organization, the Canadian Independent Regulatory Organization. And the idea being is that under one corporate umbrella, the financial planning, mutual fund, that type of business, and the securities trading, stock trading, exchange traded funds could all be offered under one umbrella. Hopefully it makes it simpler for the industry. And after that alphabet soup of an explanation, hopefully it's a little easier for the general public to understand too.
All right, Brendan, now in terms of the ease for companies, how does this change to dual registration affect current organizations?
Well, historically, you could either be one or the other. You could either be an investment firm, a securities firm, a member of IIROC, or you could be a mutual fund dealer. And they both had different ways of going about doing the practice. Among other things, I think one of the more significant things is that securities dealers actually hang on to the cash. Directly or indirectly, they would act as custodians and would be responsible for their clients' cash and investments. It's not that the clients were creditors, but the money would actually pass through the brokerage firm on the way to buying a stock or a bond or a mutual fund. Different for a mutual fund dealer, where they are more about recommending, doing financial planning, and they never actually, normally speaking, hung on to the money. So the money would go to one of the mutual fund companies from there. So making the two organizations into one will have some challenges, I think, particularly for the mutual fund side, but also for the brokerage side, because the two cultures are very different, and the merger of cultures can be a challenge at the best of times.
All right, Brendan, and really narrowing it down to current investment dealers and mutual fund dealers themselves, how is this umbrella organization going to be impacting them in particular?
Well, in a way, yes, it makes sense and it'll be good. On the other hand, I'm a little sad to see, although I've never been a mutual fund dealer, I have worked for a major mutual fund company, and our firm offers mutual funds as well. I will be sad to see the mutual fund dealers go as a separate organization, because I think it does speak to the general pressure that is on the mutual fund business. It is not the growing, dynamic, leading edge part of the investment business it was in the 80s and 90s, which is a bit of a shame, because I do still think that they are spectacular products for the large majority of investors, specifically because they allow for the monthly contribution, the dollar cost averaging into a vehicle that's ideally designed to take that. And I think the vast majority of people, myself included, that's the best way to save, is through a mutual fund. And I would hate to see mutual funds disappear as a way of helping people accumulate wealth.
Well, we'll definitely have to see how the CIRO continues to operate. Brendan, thank you again for joining us today on Forum Daily.
Thank you, Nima.